Hello everyone, I'm Michaela Kathleen, and today I'm going to be doing my favorite Peter Pan quotes. Last month I reread the entire Disney Fairies series, and so I thought it'd be fun for my quotes video this month to be all of my favorite quotes from Peter Pan. Although most of these are not actually from the original Peter Pan story. Actually, most of them are from the movie Hook and the movie Finding Neverland, and just all the various Peter Pan adaptions. So, jumping right in, I have a quote between Tinkerbell and Peter from the movie Hook. And it is just one of the most pretty romantic quotes, I feel like. So, Peter says, "Tink," and Tinkerbell says, "Say it, Peter. Say it and mean it." And Peter says, "I believe in fairies." And then, this is the very sweet romantic part, Tinkerbell says, "You know that place between sleep and awake? That place where you still remember dreaming? That's where I'll always love you, Peter Pan. That's where I'll be waiting." And this is just one of my favorite quotes between Tinkerbell and Peter. I feel like in basically every version of Peter Pan, the boy who wouldn't grow up, who grows up in a lot of versions of Peter Pan, the one thing that actually holds true is Tink loves Peter, always. Except in Once Upon a Time. Kind of annoys me that they broke the tradition. So then my next quote is also from Hook, and it is between Captain Hook and Peter. And Captain Hook says, "Prepare to die, Peter Pan." And Peter says, "To die would be a grand adventure." And then kind of the flip side of that quote is another quote between Peter and Wendy. Wendy says, "So, your adventures are over." And Peter replies, "Oh no, to live. To live would be an awfully big adventure," which these are kind of very traditional Peter Pan quotes, even though they're from the movie Hook. And then another exchange between Peter and Wendy, which again is a very traditional exchange. The first part of it, I think, is straight from Peter Pan. Goes Wendy saying, "Hello, boy," and Peter replying, "Hello, Wendy lady." And Wendy says, "Boy, why are you crying?" And Peter says, "I don't know. A tear for every happy thought." So it's just kind of the happy ending lines for the movie. My next quote is also between Captain Hook and Peter, and it is also from the movie Hook. And it's a really funny quote from the movie Hook. The movie Hook is a hilarious movie. So Peter, who has grown up and returned to Neverland, says to Captain Hook, "I remember you being a lot bigger." And Captain Hook says, "To a 10-year-old, I'm huge." And then the real comedic duo of the movie Hook is Captain Hook and Mr. Smee. So a hilarious little exchange between these two is Smee says, "I've just had an apostrophe." And Hook replies, "I think you mean an epiphany." And Smee says, "Lightning has just struck my brain." To which Hook replies, "Well, that must hurt." And then another kind of funny one-liner between Peter and Hook from the movie Hook is Peter saying, "Someone give me a hand," and Hook replying, "I already have." And now, finally moving on from the movie Hook, we have a quote from the Peter and the Starcatcher series, Peter and the Sword of Mercy, by Dave Barry and Ridley Pearson. It's kind of a funny exchange between Captain Hook and Mr. Smee. These two are always a comedic duo. So the quote goes, "Do you grasp the plan?" said Hook. "Are we catching the breeze, Mr. Smee? Are both oars in the water? Is the compass trained north?" "We are, I am, it is." And then I have a handful of quotes from the movie Finding Neverland, which is kind of a true story movie based on J.M. Barrie's life at the time that he was writing Peter Pan. Although I think it takes quite a bit of creative license. But the first quote is from an old lady who has just seen the play Peter Pan. And she says to J.M. Barrie, "I suppose it's the ticking crocodile, isn't it? Time is chasing after all of us, isn't that right?" And then my next three quotes from Finding Neverland are all exchanges between J.M. Barrie and Peter. So Peter's mother has just died, and he says to J.M. Barrie, "It's just, I thought she'd always be here." And J.M. Barrie replies, "So did I. But in fact she is, because she's on every page of your imagination." And the next quote is also regarding his mother's death, and J.M. Barrie says to Peter, "She went to Neverland, and you can visit her anytime you like, if you just go there yourself." And Peter says, "How?" And J.M. Barrie replies, "By believing, Peter. Just believe." And then my final Peter Pan quote from Finding Neverland is J.M. Barrie saying, "Write about your family. Write about the talking whale. Peter says, what whale? And J.M. Barrie replies, the one trapped in your imagination, desperate to get out. So yeah, Peter Pan is just one of my favorite stories. I love all of the adaptions for it so much. And these were just some of my favorite quotes from some of the various adaptions. Let me know down below if you have any favorite Peter Pan quotes or any favorite Peter Pan adaptions. Thanks for watching. Remember, words matter.